It's 2:37 Central African time, and you're still on In Context. Thank you so much for staying with us. Now, like many nations, Botswana is striving to harness the potential of its creative industry to contribute meaningfully to the economy. This year, the local creative industry witnessed notable opportunities and initiatives spearheaded by the Masisi administration through the National Arts Council of Botswana, aimed at cushioning and empowering stakeholders in the space. This afternoon, we're taking a moment to reflect on the journey of the country's creative industry throughout 2024. And of course, joining us for this insightful discussion is EDDY MIHIGO, who's a creative consultant, to discuss the sector's performance, challenges, as well as successes, and explore how these experiences can actually shape the industry's future going forward. EDDY, let me take this time to thank you so much for joining us. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
Sure. And it's during the festive holidays, and you decided to join us, to have this very insightful conversation with us. Do you not have anything better to do?
Always, but I mean, this is like once in a lifetime,
Absolutely.
Once in a few moments. So my family doesn't
mind. 100%.
So, you can go.
Got you.
Yeah.
We thank your family for their incredible donation. Now, you're a consultant within the creative industry. What does that mean exactly?
That means I work to kind of empower creatives. To have them understand their power, to have them learn how to utilize them to their benefits, and to have them just get that confidence to be out there. Yeah, that's part of what I do, basically.
Okay. Yeah. And if you were to summarize the creative sector's performance in Botswana, for example, over the past year, what exactly would you say? What are some of the key milestones that you would have maybe noted from the space and achievements that maybe stood out for you in the year 2024?
I think the closest one is Miss Makrekenene's, I can't say her first name. Her winning the award that she won with her design was just amazing. That was brilliant. And then, of course, one other thing that I can point out is Mayor Mpo Sebina being added to, as a voter with the Grammy Academy. That's brilliant. And she will be attending next year, which is also awesome.
Absolutely amazing.
So those are kind of like the highlights for me, but there's so much that happened this year that was positive. I mean, if we go backwards again, with the separation of the creative arts, from the Ministry of Youth, which was a bit bloated in my opinion. So a lot of people are saying that this separation means, and it being added to sports, means we're going to take a back seat. But I think it also adds a little bit more focus to the creative sector, to the arts sector, and it allows us to see how we can work best with the sports sector. So that's another highlight for me. I mean, there's so much. There's Daito Seiko who did amazingly.
The first
not just
artist to perform at the DST.
Imagine, and she was I believe she was in a workshop in Ghana earlier this year. So there's a lot going on. There's a young lady who's an artist as well. Her first name is Mole Boreng. I can't remember her surname. She also did amazing in the African art scene. The country is doing great.
Absolutely.
We're doing awesome. I mean, there's challenges. With all of these things, there's challenges that come in. We saw, for example, with the Botswana Ignite project, which got a lot of pushback. A lot of people saying, nah, it needs to be suspended. But I think it also did what it was supposed to do. There needs to be an audit to look at, whether it was successful or how we can learn from that. We had the Forbes 30 under 30 as well this year, which is a highlight in many ways because it helps put the country on the map. We had a lot of local performances on the night as well. Challenges there also, people are saying it's not doing enough, but I always say you learn from those challenges, you evaluate and you see how you can do better next year. So Music Maker Global was a highlight. It was a small highlight because it's something that happened between Botswana, South Africa, and the Netherlands and Morocco. So a number of artists were put together in one room and they were virtually sharing ideas and exchanging their art expressions through music. That was amazing, and it actually yielded something where One Groove, which is a global music company, is willing to come to Botswana next year to see how they can explore more and how they can tap into our creativity. So a lot.
Yeah, a lot of achievement. And talking about that lot, so you're speaking about a lot of international collaborations and international recognition for our local artists. What exactly does that say about the creative space in Botswana? Are we talented, or is the world only seeing our talent right now? Why is it that we're only seeing this international recognition in leaps and bounds now?
That's a good question, and that's why I exist. I think the talent has always been there, but I think we've also been very shy, you know, and very scared of what's out there. I mean, South Africa is our neighbor, and they are huge in leaps and bounds. And we always look at their output and not look at their talent pool.
Right.
When you look at their talent pool, you realize that one for one, we actually do hit the mark. We are there. But of course, in terms of output, there's other aspects that come into play. How is the talent presented? How is it marketed? You know, and there we might falter a bit, but in terms of raw talent, we are there, and that is what is most important. It doesn't matter how you present it. Anybody can be presented as a world superstar, but if you have the talent, if you have the skill, that's what matters most, and we have it. We are actually here. What we need to do now is just find ways to collaborate more with international acts so we can put ourselves out there, and just even locally just keep nurturing the emerging talent that is in the country. That's it.
And in terms of output, I mean, there's been a lot of you know, outcry, if you will, from the creative space regarding the lack of recognition. Guys have put out you know, EPs. Guys would have put out albums and all of these things, but still not getting the awards maybe that they would be vying for. What exactly can be done to fix the output part of it? You are talented, that's all good and well, but in terms of now the output and the recognition that then should be carried with it, what should happen in that regard? I think
there needs to be a lot of education into understanding what awards are.
Right.
You know, because putting out a project is humongous.
Sure.
Nobody can wake up in the morning and say, oh, I'm going to put out an album, and in 3 months it actually sees the light of day. So I think we need to recognize the fact that being nominated for an award is very important. Actually, it's almost as important as winning the award.
Yeah.
You know, but a lot of times you find that we shun the nominations. All we want is the trophy. But being nominated means the body that is acknowledging you appreciates the work that you've done and says that you are within this category with these other nominees.
Right.
And that is enough recognition for your work. So I think that's what needs to happen. Number two, I think we need more awards.
Yeah.
I think we do have a lot, right? But I think other radio stations need to follow, you know, with what Yarana FM has done, and also pick a genre and just say, okay, we're gonna help back these awards, right? And there's a lot. I mean, the creative sector is huge, from content creation, from music, from comedy, to even within music. Now you have your hip hop awards, you have your gospel awards, you know, you have your traditional music awards. So there's so much that you can tap into, and I think you can never have enough award ceremonies. You know, and if people are complaining, I think it's not because they're not being nominated, but I think it's because there aren't enough spaces for them to exist in.
Right.
So I mean, if a Duma FM picks up something, if a Gabs FM picks up, I mean, if a BTV picks up something, or an RB picks up something, then I think it will help close those gaps and really give some of these artists the recognition they deserve.
Right. And I want to tap into your psyche there. You said you can never have too many awards. Does our population, because all the time we try to come up with initiatives, it always just boils down to, but will our population accommodate that? Is the market hungry enough for so many awards?
Look, we're operating on a regional scale now. Botswana is no longer just a small landlocked country, you know, in between these giants. We've already established and we've expressed the fact that, listen, we are a regional player. I mean, the SADC headquarters are here in Gaborone, and that's huge. So I think there's an opportunity there to say, listen, we don't want to just make these events for us. What we're trying to do is showcase what we have to the region. So if we get, being a landlocked country in that regard is a positive, because what you're doing is you're saying, can we pull you know, attendees from South Africa, from Zimbabwe, from Zambia, from Namibia, you know, to attend these awards. And if already production value and production is already there, I mean, we saw with the BOMO Awards, they're doing an amazing job. So what needs to happen is we just need to be confident enough to say it's not just for Botswana. Botswana is now acting as a hub for the entire region, and all the space we have will be filled up by all these guys who will be coming in and it'll be amazing. Yeah, I'm confident of that. Yeah.
I'm sure that's a food for thought for a lot of these, guys that actually go into the thinking and the conceptualization of these awards.
Indeed.
And you spoke about education and how it's important to maybe also just help guys look into the output of their art. Now, the National Arts Council of Botswana has also introduced several initiatives this year. How effective do you think that these have been, especially in supporting creatives?
I think it's been an interesting one with the National Arts Council, because there's been a lot that has happened just within the organization in terms of governance. So I think it's been a great attempt. I mean, I was part of some of what was put together, like the pizza that we had here in Gaborone. And also the road shows were great, but they were a great starting point just to get to hear what the artists, what the creatives want, right? Just to get their voices heard. And I'm also appreciative of the fact that there's actually a tender that's gone out for research, for consultancy to try and map out the creative and cultural industry in Botswana. I mean, I'm of the view that the two should be done separately because they're both very different and very dynamic. But at least the attempt is there, and it's great. So what I'm hoping for next year is that we can pick up from what we did this year, because it's not going to help to say, okay, we're starting from zero, because what will happen is you're going to ask me the same question at the end of 2025.
Right.
While now you need to ask me, okay, so we had these conversations last year, and then we had this mapping study. What has it yielded in terms of results? Are our artists capacitated enough in terms of education to go out there and represent themselves adequately? So for the short, it's I can't really give an answer because we're just starting out, and it's sad because we started out, I think, in March, and it's December, and we're still starting. Yeah. So my hope is that, come December next year, God willing, I can give you a better answer. But the work continues, and I'm urging all, if you're in the creative sector, please work with these organizations, because without you, they don't exist. They're shells of themselves. So we need to really work hard with them and make as much noise as possible for them to understand that we are active players. We're not just benefactors.
Right. Yeah. You did mention that you are also part of these programs, right? Would you say that you spoke about the pizza and the road shows, and you spoke about how it's a starting point, it's a foundation. Would you point at any particular thing that you would say, if we could correct that, if we could refrain from doing that to now focusing that way, we would actually go far? Like, what then needs to happen in terms of building from foundation up?
I think for me, it's better inclusion, because one thing I urge my fellow artists to do different next year is we should stop going out to beg for this, and to want to be included in that. I think what needs to happen is we have enough for us to work together to create our own hubs. Maun is doing it right now, and they're doing amazing. And what NACB needs to understand is that, and I mean, I might be contradicting myself a little bit here, but what I'm trying to say is, yes, we want to work with these organizations. Yes, we want to build from what we've done last year, but it has to be done in an inclusive manner. Gone are the days where we're children sitting on stools and someone is coming to give us something. What needs to happen now is need to sit around a table, look at, and that's what the road shows and the pizza was trying to do, was to say, listen, we don't want you guys to just be on the receiving end. Come be an active player so you can also understand the processes. I'll give you an example. When I was preparing for this interview, I asked a couple of groups to say, listen, what would you want us to touch on? And someone asked me to say, I want you to talk about how artists are being asked to fill so many forms to get funding. And I couldn't respond to him to say, listen, that's part of the process, because that is your money, and if something goes wrong, we have to account for it. And the best way to account for it is to look at the paperwork.
The trail.
You see, the trail, But I can't tell him to say, hey, man, nah, that's not it. You see, I have to be nice enough. But I knew that when I came to this platform, I'd mentioned that some of that is what needs to be dealt with. Nothing stops the NACB from continuing from what they did last year, or this year rather, to saying now we're going to have upskilling classes so that people understand why it is necessary for them to present quotations on top of just the you know, what do you call the proposal, right?
Yeah.
Why is it necessary for you to really give us a Gantt chart of activities from when your project is starting from where it ends? You know, projections. Why are all those things necessary?
Yeah.
You know, so the short of it is, again, it has to be inclusive, and I think for me the natural next step, the most organic next step is to say, let's educate our artists, and this is not just for NACB. This is for COSBOTS as well, because every year artists cry about the same thing: we're not being paid enough, right? Do they understand why? Of course, COSBOTS knows why, but you have to empower the receiver so he understands that, oh, so if I want to get paid more, this is what I need to do.
100. And we see a lot of, you know, projections, you know, across the world regarding how much the creative sector is contributing to in different countries, and it's huge numbers. It's big numbers. How would you rate the contribution of the creative sector in Botswana's economy, especially this year, and what needs to be done to enhance the sector's economic potential going forward?
I think we're not doing enough, because what's happening is most ministries do not understand the power of the creative sector in you know, helping, what am I looking to say? In helping just add value to the state ministry. Tourism, for example, right? If William Last KRM is booked to shoot a video in the Okavango, right? Majority of his audience is in South Africa. So as soon as people go to that little reel that he will do, they want to know more about, oh, what's the Okavango all about? Can I afford to go there? Once that happens, you've already crossed the border, right? There's a, you know, let me not let the cat out the bag too quickly, but there's an idea to say, okay, can we have regional shows in Botswana, again, that pull from the region and bring money into the country? Right? And to do that, what you need to do is have international artists add value to the event space in the country. Because what's happening right now is majority of the funds pay the artist and he leaves with it. Right? Yeah. And what happens is the event organizers are now trying to make, you know, just trying to break even to make up for that money that has left. How do we flip that on its head to say, listen, an artist is coming to Botswana, they're charging zero because they're being funded in their country of origin, right? And we're using that fact to say, oh, we've managed to secure this artist. And this is an artist who's known either in Africa or, you know, in the world, right? But they're charging us nothing. And that means everybody's looking to say, oh, I want to come see this artist in Gabs. So then money comes in. You see, so what we need to do is to think backwards, to say, okay, it's not just about putting on a show and having people pay. It's about how do we use our capabilities, right, as a stable economy, for example, to pull, you know, artists from outside as businesses, because you have to understand, an international artist, it's more than just, I mean, we saw Chris Brown adding millions of rands to the South African economy. 100%. Right? If you look at how much he was paid and how much money he made South Africa, the money he got is a speck. And he knew that, but he also knew that for him, it adds a bit of clout to his name because he's bona fide, a global superstar.
100.
That's what we need to do. And we don't have to go far. South Africa is right next door. The DRC is not too far away. Tanzania is right there. There's diamond platinums over there. Kenya, even Zim. You know, we just need to look at our how we do it and look at ways in which we can add value to ourselves using some of these guys.
Now, my director tells me we're only 2 minutes shy of completing our interview, but I wanted us to delve into maybe the possibilities or prospects of, you know, us actually monetizing, because I think another aspect that contributed to the creative sector was what they call, you know, content creators, social media influencers, if you will, and just the monetization of different social media platforms and how far it will take us to actually get to a point where we monetize monetize. But unfortunately, I don't have time. So I'm going to ask
you. Can I give an answer in 30 seconds?
Yes.
30 seconds?
Yeah.
That's a very good question. I'm glad we stopped because that's a very categorical thing I can say. Yeah. We're in the process of doing that. We're starting conversations starting January. And hopefully by the end of next year, we'll have a very good answer for you.
That's incredible.
Absolutely.
We love to hear it. Yeah. And just lastly, as we close our conversation, your word of advice to artists that are probably listening to you right now, you know, regarding them getting into 2025 and ensuring that they now focus on their art and ensure that, you know, they take it out.
Guys, we don't close. We keep working. So keep working, keep creating, keep putting out. And we'll do our part in ensuring, even BTV will do their part in ensuring that the world knows who you are. Yeah. Just don't give up. Keep working, and if you need anything, just knock on our doors and ask.
Absolutely.
We'll be able to answer. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Eddie, thank you so much for joining me this afternoon and having this very insightful conversation. It was very important and was very critical for you to actually join us.
Thank you for having me. I hope to start the year with you guys as well next.
Absolutely. We're here. We're here. You know where to find us. Awesome. Absolutely. And that is where we leave it. We're in conversation there with EDDY MIHIGO, who's a creative consultant. We're talking about the prospects, really, literally looking at the 2024 year when it comes to the creative sector, how we have performed and what we can do going forward to ensure that, you know, we contribute significantly to our country's economy. In that regard, I'm sure you got a thing or two from that, the conversation, especially if you are in the creative space yourself. We leave it there, but stay with us. It's coming up at the top of the hour. We have the news.